So we are starting the stream now. Hello, happy Friday, everybody. Waiting for Instagram to go live. There we are. All things firing on the right cylinder. Happy Friday. Hope you all are doing well. Hope you're having a fantastic week and ready for a relaxing weekend. I'm just hopping on here really quick to share a few things that are really, they're interesting things to think about going into the weekend as far as your emotional intelligence goes, and also some updates on some content and some travel. It's been a nice 2-week break here in Kansas City to get caught up on some travel, some website stuff. But I'm on the road soon, heading to Boston next week. I've got a trip to LA coming up in a couple weeks. So really good stuff. So excited to get back out on the road and talk with audiences and groups on emotional intelligence, resilience, and leadership. Executive presence as well. So lots of super cool things going on. But what I want to talk with you about today is it's a combination of a very flattering comment that I got yesterday from someone who had attended one of my keynotes and was impacted by it, and how it's going to be altering the content at least for the next week, maybe a little bit more. So the compliment was that, a lot of the content that I talk about in emotional intelligence has a lot to do with business performance and team performance and things like that, which she completely appreciated, shared so. But what she also said, which was the flattering compliment that came along with this, was that I shouldn't shy away from the emotional intelligence benefits for the personal side of things, because in essence, that your personal benefits are abound when you invest in emotional intelligence. And I touch on those things, and I talk about how you can personally become better for your business, but I want to focus on just emotional intelligence for you. And I also want to share a couple of data points that I'm going to be working into the content, just a little quick preview. The first one is around the idea of stress management, because we're all stressed. Everybody's busy, everybody's stressed. We've got anxiety, all kinds of things going on. When you invest in your emotional intelligence personally, and this is outside of work. Yes, work is always going to be a part of what we do. But when we raise our emotional intelligence, when we're dedicated to our emotional intelligence and enhancing it, we actually reduce our stress by up to 30%. So if there is one reason, I'd love to be less stressed. I'm sure you would love to as well. So understanding how you can be more aware of your emotions, you can manage them better and regulate how you respond to things, which actually increases to the point of where you're 60% more likely to perform better in regulating and identifying your emotions as you enhance your emotional intelligence. Additionally, people with higher emotional intelligence have 50% more satisfying relationships, connections, friendships, colleagues, all of the above. And so when we think about, the last one I think is critically important, is that people with high emotional intelligence have a 40% higher ability to empathize with others. This plays out not only in just being kind to one another, but active listening, understanding other people's perspectives and opinions. Not that you have to agree with them, but just understanding and listening, because a lot of times we just shut things down. So a couple things I want you to try this weekend. One, I want you to sit down at some point and reflect back on the week, or reflect back on today if you're going to do it tonight, and identify clearly something that happened during the week, something that happened during the day that changed the trajectory of your emotions, positively or negatively. What was that thing? Was it a meeting? Was it somebody you talked to? Was it an email from a friend? Was it a text message from somebody that you engage with? What does that look like? What is that thing? And then what emotion did it create? And don't just say happy, sad. Write down a very specific emotion. So get away from just the safe vocabulary, the safe adjectives of your emotions. It made me excited. It made me hopeful. It made me agitated. Write those words down specifically, and don't just go with the bland top of the rung descriptions. What we do in that instance is that we identify what the positive or negative trigger is, what our reaction to it was in a very specific way, and is that how we want to react moving forward. And I tell the story all the time in my presentations about an individual that I worked with that was triggering me in a negative fashion, and it would have about a 36-hour effect every week. But it wasn't until I identified that as the trigger moment, even though I was very well aware that it was happening, I wasn't recognizing how much of an impact it had downhill. And it was usually the 24 hours leading up to the meeting and then the 12 hours after. that caused me more stress than I ever care to admit. But once I sat down and said, okay, why am I stressed during this time of the week? What happened today that made me more anxious? Identifying the trigger, identifying the result, and then how am I going to do something different? And as opposed to letting that person walk all over me or talk condescendingly or just be passive aggressive with me, I decided to kill them with kindness and go with that proactive route of making sure that they understood that they weren't going to get under my skin. Now, whether or not they were trying to, I'm going to assume that they were based on some of their behavior. But even if they weren't, it allowed me to take back my position in my self-regulation and my own emotions. And so I encourage you to do that. And again, this doesn't have to be like a negative shame exercise. It could be something that, I got an email from a very good friend of mine and it made me extremely happy. I got a text message or a FaceTime from somebody that I care about or that I love talking with or somebody that I admire. Those kinds of instances, when those happen, raise our emotions. And so if you say, okay, I got on FaceTime with this person and it brought my energy levels up. I felt more confident. I felt more calm. I feel like I talked to them all day. Those are the kinds of times where you need to identify that. And then if you need to make that a more routine thing to have that intentional positive emotion put in your day, do it. But there's nothing wrong with that. Put a calendar holder once every other week or however frequently you can do that with that other person. Make that time. Because when you make that time, you're inserting intentional positivity in your day and theirs. So 1, identify what your triggers are, positive or negative. What is the specific adjective that it made you feel? What was the specific emotion? Go deeper than happy, sad, mad, angry, whatever. Go deeper than that. Get a thesaurus out if you need to. You do it all the time. And then if it's a positive thing, try to do it more. If it's a negative thing, practice a new reaction. How do you want to do something differently? How do you want to talk differently? How do you want to feel differently? How would you handle that situation with a clear, conscious mind instead of just reacting in the moment? So that way you're training your mind to be able to react in the moment, react in a different way, and take more control over your stress and happiness. It really helps balance those things out because again, we'll have those things and we know that there are certain instances and we know that there's certain people that will send us one way or the other. But oftentimes we're so overloaded during the day, we're burnt out mostly, that we're not paying attention to those things. Or something happens and you say, I'll deal with that later. I'll think about it later. I got other things to do. But if you don't stop and recognize that and realize what it's doing to you and what stress you're carrying, because even though you may say, oh, I'll deal with it later, you're taking the time to focus on it and it's going to run like that unclosed app on your phone. It's going to sit in the back of your mind the rest of the day and it's going to pull on your emotional battery. So make sure that you're addressing it, dealing with it, and moving on. So that's your homework. I want you to identify a trigger, positive, negative. What's the positive thing you're going to reinforce and what's the negative thing you're going to change? I'm really excited about this new run of content that I'm going to be doing that's going to be focusing on the person. Yes, there will still be content around business and teams and things like that, but I really want to focus in on the person, and I will tell you why. This week has been, for multiple reasons and sometimes for no reason at all, has been a tough week. It's been up and down, a lot of challenges, and I'm not alone. I've talked to several people this week that are having difficult weeks and going through a rough time, and I think even in the hardest day, the hardest night, it took my emotional intelligence stopping me going down that rabbit hole too deep. It helped me understand what I was thinking and where my mind was going or where my emotions were going. And it allowed me to flex that emotional intelligence to stop the slide. And again, the nice thing about emotional intelligence is even if you have a bad emotional intelligence day, you can always bounce back the next day. You can always work to identify what you can do better and you can strengthen it moving forward. So I want to focus on those tools and tricks and benefits that you can experience no matter if you're working, not working, home, weekend, whatever. Things that you can apply all the time. Now, if there are certain elements of your world, your life, your stress levels, your anxiety management, if there are things you want me to directly address, feel free to drop me a message. You can go to my website. You'll see it right here, richbracken.com. Send me a note. Let me know what I can work on for you. I've got a couple podcasts coming. I've had 3 phenomenal guests that I've already interviewed that I've got to get the editing done on. So more podcasts coming. You can subscribe to the podcast here. I always get this wrong. Here on richbracken.com. Most importantly, when you're on richbracken.com, sign up for my newsletter because I am relaunching the Play, Record, Pause newsletter. And what that is a habit that you need to, it's based off my old, again, Play, Record, Pause. If you get it, you're probably my age. But understanding that Play, Record, Pause is when we used to be able to record stuff, usually Casey Kasem's Top 40 off of the radio onto cassettes. And we'd hit Play, Record, Pause. And when the song came on that we wanted to record, we just took it off pause. And so the philosophy of this newsletter is play is something that you need to continue doing, a positive habit that you need to implement or continue doing in your life. Pause is the thing that you need to quit doing. So a habit that you're probably doing that is sneaking up on you that you don't quite realize there's maybe a little bit of a blind spot for you. Just bringing it to light. Again, not a shame game, but just bringing it to light so you can be aware of it and identify it and move on. And then record is just me sharing my love of music. And so it'll be a song that has either something to do with the content or a song that just brings about a certain mood, whether it's a confident mood or a happy mood, something that really, not happy, ecstatic, joyful. I have to practice what I preach here. Those different emotions of positivity and confidence building, those kinds of songs that send you in that realm within a matter of seconds. So that newsletter, and I appreciate everybody who signed up for the newsletter to this point. Please feel free to sign up and please feel free to forward it on to others that you feel like either could use the habits or use the song, either way. And then I'm very excited also to be working on an ebook that I'm going to have available that is public speaking tips. Now, this is not your typical hey, I'm going to get you on the keynote stage. I'm going to make you a high paid speaker. There will be keynote tips. There will also be sales pitch tips. There will be podcast tips. There will be webinar tips, virtual presentation tips. Because there are so many different ways that we communicate with public speaking that it's not just about getting on a keynote stage. If you get on a keynote stage, more power to you. I'm proud of you. But I think there are other areas of public speaking that we engage in more frequently that are more beneficial. So I want to make sure I cover a lot of bases. Again, if there is something along the lines of public speaking that you want to learn more about, one of these areas that you're struggling with, maybe you want to start a podcast. Maybe you want to be better on virtual presentations. Maybe you want to be more efficient when you kick off a team meeting or run a team meeting. Whatever that is, feel free to drop me a message, rich@richbracken.com. Got it right that time. I just always have to point towards the Stormtrooper helmet. That's my cue. But send me a message, send me an email, let me know what I can do for you. Again, the whole premise of what I do and why I do it is because I want to help and serve as many people as I possibly can. So if I can help you in some way, if I could talk about a topic or share a topic in a podcast or in a video, that's what I want to do because that's why I'm here. So I appreciate each and every one of you that sign up for the newsletter, follow me here on LinkedIn or on YouTube or on Instagram. I appreciate it. I'm very indebted and very gracious for that. But also, let me know what I can do to serve you. That's the most important thing. That's what I want to do. And then if you are hosting an event or you have a conference coming up or you know someone who does, or you have a conference or an event you can recommend me to, please let me know. I would love to, again, travel a little bit more, but again, serve as many audiences as I possibly can. So any reference is fantastic. Any recommendations on an event or a conference and event planners, I would love to talk with you about how I can make your life easier and save you some money. So thanks for tuning in. I've got to hop to another call, but I wanted to maximize this time in between. I'm very thankful for each and every one of you. I hope you take excellent care of yourself tonight and this weekend. And please let me know if there's anything else I could do for you all. But please, please, please have a great weekend. Do your homework for emotional intelligence. Sign up for the newsletter, sign up for the podcast, subscribe, and make sure you get on those. But other than that, happy Friday, happy weekend. Take care of yourself.